Hey everyone, the last week in Moodle news starts now. Brought to you by Moodlenews.com. Sponsored by eThink Education.
Hey there, welcome to the Last Week in Moodle News. I'm Stephen Laddick from Moodlenews.com. In this episode, we'll be talking about the most important stories from the Moodleverse for the week of October 16th, 2017. In this episode, I'll be covering the Learning Technologies prediction season, analytics for course design, a primer on text filters in Moodle, and much, much more. But before I get started, a quick reminder to share this show with a fellow Moodler or a colleague or friend who's interested in EdTech or innovation, if you can. All you have to do is use the sharing options on whatever podcast player you're using right now, or if you're listening here on our website, they're right below the player there. You can also find these episodes on our Twitter feed at Moodle News or on Facebook.com/Moodle News. And finally, as we always do before we get started, a quick shout out from our sponsor.
eThink Education is a high-touch, high-quality, certified Moodle partner that has a passion for the transformative power of technology for the learning process. Visit them today at ethinkeducation.com to schedule a demo and learn why so many Moodle institutions are making the switch to eThink.
Okay, in our first section, I summarized the 3 most popular posts from the last 7 days on Moodlenews.com. First, Moodle gets 6 million Australian dollars as investment from Education for the Many. The investment came from a private French investment company called Education for the Many. The investment will allow Moodle to accelerate growth, dive into new exciting initiatives, and remain a global leader in open education. We're listening closely to learn how this will affect Moodle HQ in both the short and long runs. Next, we also reported on the feud between open source advocate, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and the World Wide Web Consortium, which sets the rules of the internet. The reason behind the dispute involves the EME specification that now lets providers restrict access and sharing of content right from your browser, which, in EFF's view, goes against the principles of open web and user control. How does it affect Moodle? Well, the growing support for open technology and open educational resources suggest us Moodlers will remain safe for the time being, but we have to remain vigilant. In other open source news, we shared the technologies that received $500 million in support by the Mozilla Foundation and why the open technology Apache Struts was involved, but not responsible, for the massive Equifax data breach. Finally, check out more than 20 recently launched or updated plugins in our October roundup. You can look into Metadata by Mike Churchwood, which lets you add extra information tags about courses and students. If you're an educational researcher, it might give you a whole new dataset for variables and correlations. While most of the plugins are free, the Moodleverse is aware that plugin development can be a legitimate business. As long as they're valuable to you, it's okay to pay for licensing or support donationware. So check out our reviews of plugins for bulk file download, personalized text filters, a new plagiarism checker, a new media player, a countdown clock, and even advanced PHP OP cache management. You can find these stories and all the links mentioned in this episode, resources, and more at moodlenews.com. Okay, in this section, I dive in depth into one of the most interesting topics happening in the Moodle community over the past week. Prediction season has officially started. Publications and marketing research companies are starting to release their top 10 lists with their bets on what is and will become the new normal. To let us get started, we have the top 200 tools for learning by the Center for Learning and Performance Technologies 2017 edition. You can check out our C4 LPT coverage in past years, where Moodle remains a staple of EdTech used by the over 2,000 learning professionals from 52 countries who answered Jane Hart's survey. This year, the number 1 LMS shows up in the 35th place in the general list, down 8 spots, and down 6 in the education category. Specialized EdTech above Moodle include Articulate, Kahoot, Coursera, and Easy Generator. The list is topped by general-purpose tools such as YouTube, Google, PowerPoint, and more Google with Docs and Drive, which are also first in the education category. Another relevant list, although more broadly focused on strategic technology, comes from the market research company Gartner. Number 1, AI. Gartner believes its pace of progress, growing competition, and clear applications deserves the top spot. They expect nearly every app to come with some form of AI, which will create as many millions of jobs as it will destroy. Some concoctions found on the list include, quote, intelligent things, digital twins, and cloud to the edge. They also expect cybersecurity to become a harder and more expensive problem for everyone over the next 5 years. Particularly interesting trend is augmented analytics, where information systems like the LMS can get data from additional sources such as Internet of Things devices, which they expect to be 95% of all new electronics by 2020. Finally, LinkedIn Learning just released its 2017 Workplace Learning Report, the first of its kind, based on 500 responses from learning and development professionals in high-level roles across the US and Canada. The number one trend is talent development, where 68% say talent is their organization's top priority, and 27% expect increased investment in budgets in this area. A concern expected to intensify within the next year involves the value of corporate learning and obtaining ROIs or similar concrete measures of impact in the business. The skills in which organizations invest the most are related to leadership, which covers coaching, communication, and teamwork. They are followed by soft skills, customer service, compliance training, and project management.
This section of the Last Week in Moodle News is sponsored by WizIQ. Trusted by many, WizIQ's virtual classroom plug-in for Moodle lets you deliver live classes from within your Moodle LMS. Download now at www.wiziq.com.
In this next section, I discuss interesting information that affects everyone in EdTech. If you're still looking for a reason to get into learning data analytics, the presentation given by John Whitmer, Blackboard's Director for Analytics and Research at Moodle Moot New Orleans, could be it. We often think of analytics as a way to identify students at risk of getting a low grade or dropping out. But what if we were to use data to prevent these risks in the first place? That was one of the first questions that motivated Dr. John and his team to start looking into the power of analytics for course design so they could learn from past data to create the next generation of great courses. He wants us to imagine an LMS where any critical decision, from the layout to the pacing and flow of the course, can be supported by data, just like the best websites and apps do today. Plus, with the growing interest of analytics, it gets easier to get started and find more powerful tools that are easy to use. Now, we need to step back for a minute. I know some of you listening might find Dr. John a bit overly optimistic. And it's true that not many of us have the resources and the massive amounts of data that Blackboard has. Still, there are some ideas inspired by his research that you can use right now. First, try to think about the way you use Moodle or your LMS in one of the 4 goals he proposes, as a simple support for files, social interaction, assessment-based, or holistic and deeply ingrained with your teaching. Second, don't be afraid to try new things and ask for support, whether in your organization or the community. The Moodle forums are always a great resource for expert advice. Finally, stay in the loop about the latest in analytics and big data applied to learning. At least for the time being, Blackboard and other companies continue to support the open source community with resources, technology, research, and data that we can use to enhance our teaching. In any case, one thing is certain. Getting the most out of data takes personal investment and perseverance before you start to realize results. Which is why some institutional or community support can make a big difference, and promoting a culture of analytics is a topic we cover continuously at moodlenews.com. I also think it's important to highlight the value of becoming more acquainted with data science, even on an academic level. Data-related skills can help in any field, and demand for them continues to soar. This is also an invitation to companies and startups who build analytical products to make sure your solutions encourage educators to ask more relevant and specific questions. Just like analytics can help learning design, it can also help the learning analytics products themselves. In this section, I focus on a practical way to help you up your Moodle game. I have to admit that I'm a little biased. Specifically, we love Moodle text filters at Moodle News and can't stop recommending them. Text filters are simple tools that recognize combinations of characters whenever you have access to a text editor in Moodle, and add functionality as soon as you save your changes. They can do simple tasks like adding links to other parts of Moodle, or more sophisticated embedding of rich content, from videos to equations to all kinds of fantastic and crazy functions. Moodle comes with more than a dozen filters out of the box for emojis, links on words to its glossary entry if there is one, or conversion of text notation into math equations. But to get the most out of them, you have to check out the text filter section in the Moodle plugin directory. Here are 3 clear advantages of enabling and using filters in Moodle. First, Text filters let you add content anywhere in Moodle where a text box is enabled, not only on course activities. This includes descriptions of courses and sections, and even the headers and footers in some themes. Second, unlike activities where you can only have one type on the page, you can use text filters to add lots of content in the same page. Of course, you can enable and disable them for all user roles or specific ones. And finally, third, text filters are lighter than plugins, which means you can add lots of them before they start compromising the performance of your site. To get a complete list, head down to moodle.org/plugins and select text filters in the plugin type drop-down menu. You can sort them by downloads, fans, or by date of last update. You can also use the search box to find filters with specific functionality. Some of the recently available filters include Ally, that give you an accessibility score of your course, table of contents, tabs, and collapsible regions for easy organization of long text, or an automatic syntax highlighter that makes code look, well, like code. Some of the plugins that offer text filters that we've reviewed in the past include filter codes from our October plugin roundup, the flexible multi-embed filter, and an international phonetic alphabet symbol converter. Okay, in our final section, I discuss what we're excited about publishing this week at MoodleNews.com. While we continue to unpack the videos from Moodle Moot New Orleans, a massive set of presentations from the recent Moodle Moot Australia is now available. More than 50 presentations covering pretty much everything about Moodle are now at your fingertips. Case studies, theory and research, practical applications, and even talks given by Moodle headquarters engineers are part of the package. Stay tuned for our review as we try our best to make sense of everything and help you find the insight you're really interested in. Also, Mr. Moodle is back, right on time to address an unsatisfied customer. William Mano from Brazil asks, why is Moodle so slow to implement new things? We'll try to give some perspective about what it takes to launch a Moodle update every 2 months and what it would take if Moodle wanted to speed up the rate of updates. Does everything go perfectly at Moodle headquarters? Definitely not. In fact, just a few days ago, there were some announcements about new approaches to Moodle development. But as an open source project, there are many ways in which Mano and you can help make it better. Finally, we joined the Nobel Prize party to give you a little nudge of how behavioral economics is applied in the development of EdTech and instructional design, and how you can too. The 2017 Nobel Prize in Economics has been awarded to Richard Thaler, who, in addition to his academic research, has also published bestsellers with names such as Nudge and more recently Snags. We'll explain how simple and powerful behavioral economics can be in Moodle and EdTech design. Making small changes in how you present problems to your students can have surprising results in the way they approach solving them. Okay guys, that's it for this week. Thanks again for listening to the Last Week in Moodle News podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please take just a few seconds right now to give us a review on iTunes or whatever podcast app you happen to be using. And, of course, join me next week for all the most important news about Moodle.
The Last Week in Moodle News is hosted and produced by Stephen Laddick, with writing, research, and editing by Christian Duquet and Joseph Tebow. Have questions, edits, rants, or raves about this show? Send them to podcast@moodlenews.com.